Worst run franchises, St. Louis Blues. Question, do you know what franchise in the NHL has gone the longest without winning a Stanley Cup? The answer is the St. Louis Blues. They are the oldest existing franchise to have never won a Stanley Cup. The Blues were one of the 6 teams added to the NHL in the 1967 expansion draft, along with the Minnesota North Stars, LA Kings, Philadelphia Flyers, Pittsburgh Penguins, and the California Seals. The Blues were originally coached by Lynn Patrick, who left after recording a 4-13-2 record. He was replaced by then assistant coach Scotty Bowman, who led the team to a winning record for the rest of the season. The St. Louis Blues actually managed to make the Stanley Cup Finals in each of their first 3 seasons, due to an inferior Western Conference. The goalie tandem of Glenn Hall and Jock Pline won the Vezina Trophy in 1969. The Blues didn't have much success in the 70s due to a change in playoff format, and the Chicago Blackhawks being moved into the division. The Blues lost their head coach Scotty Bowman to the Montreal Canadiens, following a power-sharing dispute with Sid Solomon III. Fast forward to 1977, where the franchise is on the brink of financial collapse. The Blues finished with a franchise-low 18-50-12 record, with 48 points in 1970. It is still the worst season in franchise history. After being one of the worst teams a couple years ago, they were one of the best in 1981, as they finished with 107 points and the second best record in the league. The Blues were purchased by Harry Ernest and a group of St. Louis-based investors on July 27, 1983, to keep the team in St. Louis. Despite being run on the cheap, the Blues remained competitive even though they never finished more than 6 games over 500 in Ernest's 3 years as owner. Several of the Blues' young star players such as Rob Ramage, Joe Mullen, and Doug Gilmour were main cogs on the Calgary Flames team that won the Cup in 1989. From 1988 to 1998, the Blues were contenders but never made it past the second round of the playoffs. General manager Ron Caron made a couple important moves, landing players such as Brett Hull, Adam Oates, Brendan Shanahan, Al McGinnis, and Curtis Joseph. During this time frame, the Blues star player was Brett Hull, who was one of the top stars in the league and a scoring sensation. Mike Keenan was hired as both GM and coach before the 95 season. Keenan traded away fan favorites Brendan Shanahan and Curtis Joseph, and acquired aging stars Wayne Gretzky and Grant Fuhr. Brett Hull left as a free agent to sign with the Dallas Stars in 1998. The Dallas Stars went on to win the Stanley Cup in 1999. Led by MVP Chris Pronger, the Blues notched the franchise record 114 points during the regular season and earned the President's Trophy. The Blues were a playoff team every year from 1980 to 2004, but somehow never managed to win a Stanley Cup or even appear in the finals. From 2005 to 2011, the Blues struggled and would miss the playoffs. The Blues finished the 05-06 season with the worst record in the NHL. With the first pick in the 2006 draft, the St. Louis Blues chose Eric Johnson over players like Jonathan Toews, Nicholas Backstrom, Phil Kessel, and Claude Giroux. Fast forward to 2011. On November 6, 2011, Ken Hitchcock was named the head coach of the St. Louis Blues. Under Hitchcock, the Blues would be a playoff team every year, but just like the 90s, they were unable to get past the second round of the playoffs. The Blues traded TJ Oshie to the Washington Capitals for Troy Brouwer, Phoenix Copley, and a 3rd round pick in 2016. Before the 2016 season, it was announced that Mike Yeo would be the new head coach of the St. Louis Blues. The Blues were once again eliminated in the second round of the playoffs, this time by the Nashville Predators. The St. Louis Blues missed the playoffs in the 2017-2018 season because of injuries to key players down the stretch. Even though the Blues are always in the playoff picture, they have a pattern of losing early in the playoffs. Being in the league for more than 50 years and never winning a Stanley Cup has to say something about your franchise. This is why the St. Louis Blues are one of the worst run franchises in the NHL. Next, I'll be talking about the Pittsburgh Penguins' best run franchises.